There are a lot of reasons to be excited about this Cincinnati Reds team in 2025. We're going to be talking about them on today's Locked On Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Reds. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Stephen Offenbaker. I'm joined today by Eric Matthews. More about him in just a minute. Listen, folks, I have been talking about this team in podcast form for 7 years now. I'm a lifelong Reds fan. Eric's a lifelong Reds fan. We love baseball. We love the Reds. And as always here at Locked On Reds, we love talking baseball with you. On today's show, we're going to be talking about what we've seen so far. So far, so good. Lots of reasons to be excited about this Reds team. We're also going to set some reasonable expectations for what to expect from the guys coming back, the guys that have been added, the guys that are returning. We're going to dig into all of it coming up here in just a bit. And 27 days remain until opening day. That, of course, means we're going to talk about the best Red to ever wear number 27. There is only one answer to this question, and we're going to get into that coming up a little bit later in the show. All right, Eric, before we get too deep into this thing, this is your first appearance here on Locked On Reds. I've known you for a while now, courtesy of one of our mutual friends that I met there in the ballpark one day. He connected us. The thing about your and mine's friendship story here is we're both in Hawaii. So yep. For just a second, why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're coming from, and what you're doing?
I am a lifelong Reds fan just like you, and I've been doing this for quite a while. I actually used to be a radio personality in Lexington, Kentucky, right outside where I grew up. So I covered the Reds for quite a while and was a part of the mainstream media for just a little bit of time before I changed careers and went into sports administration. And over the last 7 years, I've been at University of Hawaii working for the administration here. And right now I'm the Director of Marketing and Fan Experience for University of Hawaii. So to be from Kentucky and a lifelong Reds fan, to be on here with you, a lifelong Reds fan who's also in Hawaii, is pretty killer, my man. That's legit. That doesn't happen very often, I think, for a lot of fan bases.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited about you being here. Let's dive into this and talk a little Reds baseball. And just as an aside, folks, if you're listening and you want a fun social media follow, you want a fun second team to have in your college arsenal, get in on UH Baseball right now. Follow all the social medias that Eric's helped putting together. Amazing program out at Manoa. You might get rained on, but you're going to have a good time. All right, let's get into this. The Reds have been really exciting so far in spring. The thing that I'm excited about most, the one thing, if I had to point at one thing, Eric, that has just grabbed me by the shirt collar and going, pay attention, is that Elly De La Cruz is tagging left-handed pitchers. I talked about this on yesterday's show with Tim Daniel. Elly is hitting the ball hard from the right side of the plate. And if he can continue that, his OPS plus last year was, I believe, in the 60s. As just a right-handed batter. If he can push that up to 90 and maintain what he did last year, we're talking about an MVP caliber season. He probably deserved to be in more of the MVP conversation last year than he was, but I think he gets his numbers up against the left-handed pitchers. We're having a serious conversation about him competing for the MVP.
I don't disagree. I will add another element onto this, a little bit of an extra layer, is yes, what he's doing against lefties is noticeable. That change in stance he's doing, it seems like it's kind of played some type of toll. But here's the thing that I really look at, I'm going, we may be onto something, is he's taking pitches and he's being patient in the count. Like today, he drew 2 walks against the Diamondbacks. So he's out there, he's hitting, he's being patient, he's drawing the walks. What makes Elly dangerous is when he gets on base. When he gets on base, he creates all that havoc for the guys behind him. So pitchers don't want to pitch around him. And if he's the guy looking for his pitch or working the count, he's going to find something to hit on either side of the plate. Makes him twice as dangerous than we already know him as.
Yeah, 0 for 1 with 2 walks in that game. I really don't care how he gets on base. I mean, if he's not getting a home run, once he's on base, you're right. He is just absolutely dangerous and disruptive and helps the other guys because the pitchers worry about him so much. I think it really throws them off their game. Elly's not the only guy, though, to be excited about what we've seen so far. And I keep coming back to Matt McLain because before he got injured last season, both Jeff and I were talking about that, there's a lot of talent on this roster. There's a lot of young guys that are going to do a lot of things, and they're going to be spectacular, Elly included. But Matt McLain feels like the engine of the lineup, the driver of the lineup. As goes Matt McLain, so goes the lineup. That's what we thought about him. And his absence last year was notable. The Reds never recovered from that injury and that occurred in spring training. They never got their feet back under them. What we're seeing from him right now has me so excited, because you look at him, you look what he's been able to do. 1 for 3 again today. He's hitting .455 through spring training right now. Again, it's early, but he's hitting the ball. He's hitting the ball hard. He's fielding his position well. And I have not seen one thing that he has done, either in video highlights or watching the games, that tells me there's a problem with the shoulder, or that it bothered him, or that it hurt him, or that he was having any issues at all. I am really, really excited to have Matt McLain back in this lineup to pair up with Elly De La Cruz.
So what you're saying is you're sleeping easy right now.
A little bit.
Okay. We're on the same page here, because Matt's one of those guys, he feels like he's the glue in a lot of different areas. He's the glue defensively, because he probably is the best defender in the infield. He may not be the most talented, because we know Elly is with his arm and his range, but it comes of efficiency. McLain seems to kind of be that guy. And then you look at what he's doing in the batting lineup. Look at what he's done these first few games. I just mentioned Elly kind of working the count, drawing the walks. You look at the game against the Angels where he hit 2 doubles and a homer. The first 2 at-bats, the 2 doubles he hit was early in the count, first 3 pitches. When he hit the home run, he got to a 2-1 count and went deep to left center field on a 2-1 count. So he's hitting early because he knows Elly's right behind him, and the pitcher doesn't want to put the guy on base for Elly coming up. So he's taking what's given to him early in the count, and he's making the most out of it. And I agree, there's no signs of that shoulder being an issue right now. And of anything we could take from camp this early on, because we don't want to get too optimistic here. I want to, but we shouldn't. But if we are, Matt doing what he's doing, it makes you go, okay, the guy that we thought last year was the glue, and when he kind of got separated, this team was a little bit under 500, kind of fighting for it throughout. He's a guy that could elevate him. And if he's consistent defensively and in the lineup, we got a 1-2 combination in the order of 2 and 3, and a second base and a shortstop up the middle combo with Stevenson and Friedel that you talked about a couple of days ago. Like that foursome through the middle, that's a pretty impressive foursome there.
Let's jump over to the pitching side of things for just a minute here at this beginning segment, because there are a few pitchers I'm excited about and some things that I've been excited about. And this is going to be a weird place to begin this conversation, Eric, but I'm excited about the things that I've heard from Terry Francona about his expectations for the pitching staff coming through spring training and preparing and doing their work to get ready for opening day. Because in many of the years past, pretty much the entire David Bell era with this team, I felt like the pitching was not ready to go when the team got to Cincinnati. I didn't think the starters were ready. I didn't think they were stretched out adequately. That led to a bullpen overuse, which led to everything falling apart in the dog days. That's kind of how I felt about the David Bell era in a nutshell. What we've heard from Terry Francona is on opening day, the starting members of this rotation should all be ready to throw 90 to 100 pitches right out of the gate. I love that. I'm excited about that. It's old school. It's what's needed. It will protect this bullpen into August, September, October, and keep the Reds in contention, I think.
Were you worried about the starting rotation going into the offseason?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't necessarily that worried about it because I knew they had a lot of young arms. I'm excited to see what they have now that they've brought Martinez back to see what he can do. Now they've added Singer into the rotation.
That was the game changer for me. Singer was the game changer for me. The veteran stability that has consistently been able to make 30 starts. That's what I felt like the rotation missed and why I was worried, and they fixed that.
I don't disagree with you. I probably felt a little bit more comfortable about the rotation that you did going to the offseason because I just feel like we had arms. You had guys that were up and coming. You had guys that had gone through things for the last couple of years in Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. Andrew Abbott was showing signs of growth. Graham Ashcraft kind of went through a sophomore slump. But you saw guys that were kind of advancing themselves. Plus, Brent Lauder just got me excited all around for the offseason to see what he could potentially do and would he break the rotation going into this season. But this is the point I'm getting at. While I felt good about the rotation, The bullpen is what I worry about every year. I've been worried about the bullpen ever since the Arthur Rhodes era of bullpen guys. Ever since that bullpen, this bullpen under Price, the tail end of Baker, and going into all of David Bell's, I was kind of always worried about the bullpen. Now I'm not. I feel really confident because of the rotation and what Tito is saying. I feel a lot better about that, and I feel a lot better about what they've added to the bullpen. So the arm situation, as long as guys are staying healthy, this seems a lot more firm than what we've seen through all of David Bell and all of David Price. So I feel a whole lot, Brian Price. So I feel a whole lot better about it.
David Price, Brian Price, it doesn't matter. They were all pretty bad. No. I'm kidding. All right, here's the deal. We get accused a lot around here, Eric, of being all rainbows and kittens and Skittles and sunshine and all of the things when it comes to talking to the Reds, looking at this team through Reds colored glasses, if you will. But coming up here in a minute, I want to talk about what is a reasonable expectation for this team. What is reasonable for the guys coming back from injury, the guys that are coming back after a down year, and the guys that have been added. Let's talk what's reasonable and what could actually happen with this 2025 Reds team. We'll get into that coming up next. Spring training is getting started. Baseball is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. They've got tons of Reds-related futures right now, and my favorite one of those, Hunter Green's strikeout total for 2025. They have him set at 160.5. That's right, 161 strikeouts from Hunter Green, and you win. I'm going to take the over because Hunter Green, he is going over. Looking for more than just baseball? Check out the NBA, because with FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off and you want to bet on the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets back if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets back. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Make sure you're subscribed, that way you don't miss any of the great Reds content we've got for you coming all season long. Click that subscribe button, the notification bell, the like button, tell your friends, help your grandma get signed up, whatever you got to do so that we can talk Reds baseball with everybody. All right, Eric, let's dive back into this because, again, we tend to be a little bit more optimistic around here than other places when it comes to talking about this Reds team because we want it to be good so very, very badly. But there are times where we set our expectation bar too high. Most notably, I talk about this when it comes to discussions that surround Hunter Green. For his first couple years, I feel like there is nothing Hunter Green could have done short of starting 32 games, never allowing a run, and winning the Cy Young to meet everybody's expectations. We just were so hyped for him. So I try to remember that, and I try to stay reined in. But that being said, I look around this team and the guys that we just talked about, and a lot of the guys we haven't talked about yet, and I continue to get more and more excited that if this is the team and it remains healthy, this team is going to win a fair amount of baseball games.
I tend to agree with you. And I think the last couple of years under David Bell, I think the goal was always be 500. Be right. 500 going into end of September, early October, and let's hope for the best. And this year feels a tad bit different. And I don't want to say that the goal isn't 500, but I think the goal is to be a little over 80 wins. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at what the Cubs have done. I'm looking at what the Brewers have done. I'm looking at what the Cardinals haven't done. And there's a reason why I'm optimistic. It's not just going to opening day blind and hoping. There are things that were done in the offseason that make me feel like this team can capitalize off of some momentum that they had last year. I think this team going for a wild card spot is extremely reasonable. Extremely reasonable. Now, are they up there competing with the Dodgers right now? No. As much as I want to say different, I don't see it happening. A lot of things have to go right for me to feel a whole lot better about that. And that's Nick Lodolo taking the next step. That's figuring out what Graham Ashcraft's role is. That's figuring out what role Nick Martinez is in this rotation. It's all about figuring that type of stuff out. It's not about who is. It's about what will they. And I feel like this is a wild card team.
I don't disagree. I'll tell you something you said there that I do want to talk about for just a second. I think you're correct in that from a front office standpoint, this team is built to win 81, 82, 83 games somewhere along the way. And if they catch fire, maybe get higher, maybe do a little bit better. I think the difference is David Bell managed that way. The team was built that way, and David Bell managed that way. I'm just trying to win 80 games and maybe get lucky. Tito Francona is going to try to win this division. And I think that's where the extra wins come from. Those extra 5 wins that you need in order to get this team into playoff contention in a division that's probably a little weaker than others, a chance to win this division. Francona makes that difference, I think, in the way he's going to approach these games, the expectations he's going to have for these players, the demands he's going to make of them, how he's going to hold them accountable. I think that's a big difference in how this team will perform. Now, that being said, let's talk about a few guys and let me hear from you what you think he'll be able to squeeze out of them. I want to start with Hunter Green, the undeniable ace of this rotation, right? Do you have a different opinion than that? Ace of the rotation? No.
Clear cut number one. Clear cut number one. He turned a quarter last season. He got 26 starts through 150 innings. His ERA 2.75. I think he gets a little bit better. 6.3 in WAR. I don't think he's done. I think he can go a little bit more. Now, is he going to be better than some of those numbers? Is ERA going to be lower? Maybe, but I think he throws more innings. I think he starts more games. What's reasonable to expect in a jump as far as amount of time pitched in 2025? Is it too much to say we get 4 more starts out of him in the regular season? Does he get to 30? And if he does get to 30, are you worried he wouldn't have anything left in the tank for the postseason? I'm not worried because, being honest here, I didn't like how David Bell managed his pitchers. It drove me crazy. I understood what he was doing with the lineup. I may agree or disagree with what he was doing with the lineup, but I understood it. I never understood what he was doing with pitchers, with the exception of, trying to protect them. Hunter Green is at the point with his contract and what he is doing where he is your ace. I don't want to say 200 innings because 200 innings, I think, in this era of baseball is the elite of the elite as we're going. But I do think 175 innings is reasonable. And that would be an additional 4 starts off of kind of the number that you're giving. 2.7 ERA in Great American Ballpark is ridiculous. Like, let's factor that into that. That's a 2.75 ERA when you are pitching in Great American Ballpark. To me, that ERA, if it's anywhere close to a 3, that's reasonable for the ace of the Reds playing in that ballpark. So if he is getting that 2.7, 3.0 ERA, and he's getting 175 to 180 innings, then there's a reason why that guy is getting Cy Young votes, which he got last year. There's a reason why he got him. Like, he may not have hit our expectations in a lot of ways because we've been so excited for him. Realistically, though, he is where he needs to be at, and he's growing. It's all about the other 4 behind him last year and the other 4 behind him now to see where they take him.
Well, let's talk about a couple of those guys. I want to focus in on Nick Lodolo for just a minute. He's 26 years old now. He's not been able to string together a healthy season. There is some rumblings out there, including in my own mind, that this may be the make or break year for him. Either this is the year he figures it out, or he starts to wear that label of bust, that label of guy that just couldn't quite put it together, that label of guy you can't rely on. Are you there yet with him?
No. He hasn't been healthy. Like, he hasn't been healthy for a full year. Hunter Green was healthy most of last year. Nick Lodolo has not been healthy a full year yet. That's when I can kind of figure out, where are we at with Nick Lodolo? Because everything that's ever been reported about Nick Lodolo, and you and I have seen, others have seen, is he might have the nastiest stuff of the entire rotation or this entire pitching staff. And that tells me something. It just, can he stay healthy? I feel like he's going to make that next step that Hunter made last year. This is where Lodolo steps up and he makes that significant jump where you really have a bona fide 1 and 2 combo at the top of the rotation. You look at Nick Lodolo last year, he finished with a 4.76 ERA, 115 innings. Get to 130 or get between 130 and 150 innings. That's the same amount of growth that I just got done saying about Hunter Green and where we hope he gets to. If Nick Lodolo can get to that, that's where he makes that next significant step. And that ERA, I think, will come down because the strikeouts are going to come up with those innings, and he's going to keep building off of that. Again, it just, can he stay away from the blisters, and can he stay away from getting injured?
How do you view Nick Martinez? Are you in the camp of they're going to run it back and bounce him back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation? Or are you in the camp of he's a starting pitcher? I'm in the camp of he's a starting pitcher.
I'm in the camp of what I've heard from Tito, and he's a starting pitcher. Now, if you want my actual opinion, I want him in the bullpen. Okay. I think he's a very valuable bullpen guy that could be your high leverage guy in the 7th or 8th inning, where I think you need that. Like right now, I know we've added, I like Rogers. There's potential of Ashcraft. There's all these other guys that they kind of added that have a history with Tito. I kind of see how everything kind of pans out. But Martinez is a guy, if you put in the 7th and 8th inning, he is that guy that could be a shutdown. The other ones you're like, they should be. No, he is. So that's kind of why I wish Martinez got moved to the bullpen, and then there's no discussion about Andrew Abbott. There's no discussion about Rhett Lauder. Like, let the young guys be the young guys and let them bolster your rotation with Singer in there and Hunter Green leading the way. That's mine. But going off what Tito has said, he is a rotation guy.
Let's talk hitting for just a second before we get out of this segment and on into the 27 days countdown. Looking at the Reds roster, it's very easy to look at these guys and think there's going to be multiple 20 home run guys in this lineup. You run up and down the list from just last year. Elly De La Cruz hit 25. He'll do that again. Spencer Steer hit 20. I believe that he'll do that again, even with the shoulder concerns that he's got right now. Jeimer Candelario hit 20, and he was not healthy. He looks great. He's been playing well. He looks like he's in a lot better shape. I think he gets to 20 again. Tyler Stevenson got to 19 and was really only hitting well half the season. The second half of the season, he really turned it on. I believe he can get to 20 and keep that up. So we're already at 4 guys that have hit 20 home runs. Is there anybody else in this lineup you expect 20 home runs from heading into 2025?
Austin Hayes.
Austin Hayes, number 5. Okay, very good. I agree with you there on Austin Hayes. And I think Jake Fraley has an outside shot to do it, depending on the number of plate appearances he gets. I think his power comes back.
It has to. And I don't have it in front of me, but I'm trying to remember if Fraley has hit 20 home runs in a season in his career yet. My brain tells me no. But, again, you're playing at Great American Ballpark. So it does kind of help with the numbers there.
His career high is 15.
So there you go. So I don't think Fraley is a power guy. I think Fraley is an on-base, high-percentage guy. That's how I view him as. I view CES, I view Tyler Stevenson, I view Austin Hayes as power guys. Elly, power. I'm interested to see what he kind of does this year. That swing of his makes me feel like, okay, we may be surpassing a 30 mark here, hopefully. Matt McLain showed in his rookie year that he had pop, and he has shown in spring training, now that he's healthy, that pop seems to still be there with 2 doubles and a home run yesterday or 2 days ago. So when you look at that, Matt McLain makes me think that we could have one of those rare second basemen who are hitting 25 to possibly 30 home runs. Fraley, I don't see there. McLain, I'm not sold on it yet. I want to see how the rest of this year goes before I make a bold statement like that early on in the spring training. Tyler Stevenson, I think 19, 20, I think that's his range. I think throughout his career, in the prime of his career, he's going to be between 15 and 25 home runs fairly consistently.
So not 40. Not 40.
No. As much as I wanted to agree with that a couple years ago, I don't think he is a 40 home run guy. I wish he was.
I left you CES on purpose, and I'm glad you took him because, I always get accused of being a little overly optimistic on these home run totals. I think CES is going to have a big year. And just with that list, that's 6 guys that you and I are in agreement are going to be at least the 20 range, counting Tyler Stevenson. A 7th and a possibility of Matt McLain. And I think that Fraley might flirt with it. So let's bring that back into what's reasonable. There could be 7 guys in this lineup with 15 or more home runs. That's a lineup that you can play around with.
I can't argue that. I want to, but I can't. Because look at CES's swing. He is a home run, exit velocity type of swing. Like he is uppercutting. He is going for that. Like I said, Fraley's swing is not a home run swing. He'll run into him. He'll hit him, but it's not. Elly is a home run swing. Matt McLain looks like a home run swing. Over what we've seen analytically and the way the game has changed over the last 5 to 8 years, you see that a little bit more now in what's considered a home run swing. That's why those guys are kind of falling in that category. I don't see a home run swing with Fraley. I don't see a home run swing with Tyler Stevenson. I don't necessarily see a home run swing with TJ Friedl. Austin Hayes, he has it. So that's why I'm kind of leaning there, is because what we've seen through the dynamics of baseball over the last handful of years, those guys have that kind of undercut swing that's given them that exit velocity, that's given them that advantage to play in a ballpark like Great American and get 25 home runs.
Well, I am not any less excited. I'm going to try and remain reasonable, but I am just pumped up about this 2025 baseball season. Can't wait to get to opening day, to get to Great American Ballpark and check this team out live and in person. And speaking of getting to opening day, 27 days remain until opening day. So, of course, we're going to continue our series and talk about the best red to ever wear the number 27. That's coming up next. If you can't follow us here on YouTube Live, make sure you click subscribe on one of the audio feeds. We are literally on every single podcasting audio app there is out there. Find us on there, subscribe. You can take us in the car. You can take us to the gym. You can take us for a long walk down by the river. I don't care where you take us. Let's just talk some baseball together. All right, Eric. When I pitched this, that you and I were pretty much in unison, we were pretty much lockstep in agreement that the conversation for the best number 27 to ever do it for the Cincinnati Reds, that conversation starts and ends with Jose Rio. Do we have any other opinion on that?
No. Jose Rio is one of my all-time favorites. And when you said 27 and I reminded myself it was 27 days, my mind went straight there. And I have no argument whatsoever. He is the greatest to ever wear 27.
You know, 2 separate stints with the Reds, came back from, some serious arm injuries to work his way back. He did not play from 1996 to the year 2000. And then in 2001 and 2002, came back to play for the Reds in a total of 44 games. That 44 number is something special in Cincinnati. Came back for 44 games as a reliever and then started a few games, I believe. Did he start a few games? He did. The second year, he started 9 games the final year he played in 2002.
If my memory serves me right, he started the very last game at Sergi Riverfront, and that was a very special day. Jason LaRue as his catcher, I believe. I think he was with the Reds then, early on in his career. So I remember that very vaguely, but I remember it.
He was the ace of the Reds 1990 staff that won the World Series wire to wire. He got some MVP votes that year. The next year he goes on, finished 4th in the Cy Young. He had some really, really good years. That year that he finished 4th in the Cy Young, he won 15 games. He was 15-6. He had a whip of 1.077 that year and threw 204 innings. The guy was amazing. And I think that 1990s team, he was the attitude that everybody else fed off of. You run him out there, he's the ace of this staff. Everybody else caught that attitude. The Nasty Boys caught that attitude. It had just continued to fuel and create the perfect storm for this team. I think the first half we saw out of Jack Armstrong that year, a large part of that was, him matching up Jose Rio's energy. I love Jose Rio. I think that he was undervalued during his time in Cincinnati. I think people didn't appreciate what we really had in Jose Rio, and one of my all-time favorite pitchers.
Let me ask you this question. There's always the conversation about the Mount Rushmore in terms of teams. Mount Rushmore for Reds and pitchers. Pitchers for the Reds. Jose Rio, to me, is one of the first names to go on that Mount Rushmore if we're talking just pitchers.
I mean, I have recency bias and, guys I've watched pitch live bias. So he would be my first pick. He would be the guy that I pointed to and said, that's the guy, number 1, put him up there. Do it. I totally agree with you. Not to ignore some of the other guys. I mean, normally we run through this list and try and have some fun. The aforementioned Jake Fraley, number 27, probably not the greatest Red to ever do it. Looking through the list, Matt Kemp. I mean, really, maybe we should rethink this. Matt Kemp also wore number 27. You go through the list, you go back in time. There aren't really a lot of names that jump out at you. I get all the way back into the 50s and still have not found somebody that makes me want to go, oh yeah, that guy should be up for honorable mention. One guy I think I'll throw out as an honorable mention, just because when he came to the Reds, his best years were behind him, but he did have, a veteran presence. He brought an attitude. Scott Rowland wore number 27. And while, he didn't do a ton of great things during his time as a member of the Reds, he did pretty good. I mean, in his 4 years as a Red, he put up 7.6 in WAR. It was an all-star in 2 of those 4 years and got some MVP votes in 2010. So I think honorable mention. By no means am I going to give him the crown of best number 27, but it deserves a mention.
I'm going to give you 2 honorable mentions. The first one is an obscure Red that I'm just going to give love to, as I remember him very, very fondly. I love Jeff Keppinger back in the day. I thought he was a good hitter. I thought they got a good deal out of him. I want to say they traded him. I want to say to Houston. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember Jeff Keppinger. I always liked him as a Red. He was one of those obscure guys. He wore the number 27, and we have to mention it. Number 27 was worn by Trevor Bauer. He did win a Cy Young. He did lead the rotation in the team into the playoffs. It has to be mentioned. Regardless of all the other stuff, we got to mention Trevor Bauer did wear 27 as a Red. We won a Cy Young.
I will speak on this purely from a baseball standpoint, being that he's the only member of the Reds to ever win a Cy Young. Yes, honorable mention. Great half season of COVID work, Cy Young winner. Cool. I agree. Yep. Honorable mention.
We're in the same boat. It's an honorable mention, but it has to be put out there.
No, I agree. I agree. I agree with that, because in any of the controversies surrounding Reds and record holders, I separate the baseball when I'm talking about the records. So yep. I agree with you. You know what, Eric, it has been so great having you here. I can guarantee you, now that I know you're willing to do this and you're in the same time zone as me, we're going to do this from time to time. You're going to be on my call list now for filling in. And it's funny, I keep ending up with dudes that look like Jeff. I have Tim Daniels, he looks like Jeff. I get you look like Jeff. Apparently I have a type.
Apparently so, but I will say this. I'll let Jeff know, because I know he's going to watch at some point. His beard's nice, but it's hard to say you have the best beard in the state. I have the best beard in Hawaii.
Oh, Lord Jesus. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Reds. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. We appreciate you being here. Again, if you're looking for some fun social media content, get on the X space, get on anything that is UH related, and find the work of the UH Warriors and the Rainbow Wahine over there. And if you're ever in Hawaii, put going to a game on your bucket list, because talk about some incredible venues with some incredible teams. Come check us out here in Hawaii, gang. That's what I'm saying. So next time, we're going to keep gathering up the news, the information, listening for the rumors, gathering it up and bringing it back here to keep you locked on Reds every single day. We'll see you next time.
Well, that was